From the home page, you can select grants from the menu item up top or this menu item down here. Once you're on the grants page, again, this is the list of all grants that are in there. This is all test data right now. You don't have to worry about this. You're going to see your active grant and your archived grants. You're going to come over to the top right and click on the quick action button to create grant. In this next window, you're going to create a name for the grant. And it's whatever you call the grant in your application process. You're going to apply a start date. You're going to apply an end date. And then you're going to give it a description. A lot of times in here too, anything that you've typed in a particular field, it will save it. And you can select it again later on. You don't have to. You can type in something new. In Salesforce, you'll get sections to fill in, and then you move on to the next and fill in the next section. This is because the database is building the groundwork, if you will, on how the information is being connected. So it asks you to do one thing at a time. Once we've set up the name of the grant, the timeline of the grant, you're going to be asked to put in an objective name. Whatever it is you've named it in the grant, you can name it here. You can add narrative to it. You can add a short title to it. Whatever works best for you. In the object name and the performance name, there's a limited number of characters you can put in. It's pretty large, but if it does stop, don't be surprised. That's why. For the objective description, you can copy and paste the full grant description in that field. There's no limit to that one. And you can see here too that if you make a mistake now in Salesforce, not only does it identify the spelling error, but then gives you the correct spelling. Go on to the next. Once the first objective is established, now it's going to offer you to do the performance measures. It's really important that when you're in here, you come up with naming functions for the objectives and the performance measures. Salesforce is a powerful database, and with it comes some requirements for the user to learn to access its potential. It is best to come up with a naming standard for your objectives and your performance measures. How you label your objectives and performance measures will relate to how you search for them in the global search box and in your selection of performance measures in other parts of the database. For example, in your service plans and in your service logs and trainings that are not connected to a service plan, you'll have to select performance measures specific to that effort. What you see in the drop-down menu to select a performance measure is what you name it here. My suggestion is to create a name that is short and easy to remember. So you could come in with performance measure 1. I like putting in performance measure 1, meaning objective 1, and then 1 for performance measure 1. It'll make more sense in a second. I'm going to select what type of performance measure this is. So this is a project measure. Remember, we have program measures, which are basically placeholders, and you'll have to put them in. And in the raw data section, it's 999. In the project measures, this is ones that you create, or these are the project measures that you've created to assure that we're implementing program measures. And we also have common project measures. So we're going to use a common project measure here. All of the common project measures are already entered into the database for you to be a drop-down, and they will change as the feds change them. I'll take care of that on our end. So I'm going to select the first one, common project measure 1. I'm going to add any GEPR measures that I feel are related to that performance measure. And the reason to do this is anytime in the database when we're doing an evaluation or we're aggregating any information at all, even demographics, and it has to be related to a report for the feds or any grant that we're working on, it works off of the performance measures. The GEPR measures are then brought in as basic satisfaction questions. So it's important that you pick whichever one goes with this. You can select the top box, which will select all of them, and then just undo the ones you don't want. You can remove all of them, or you can just select 1 or 2 of them at a time. Hitting next, going on. Now I've put 1 objective in and 1 performance measure in. I can go ahead now and see what this looks like. So underneath my grant objectives, I have 1, objective 1. Grant performance measures are 1, PF 1.1, and the related GEPR measures to that performance measure so far are GEPR 3 and 1. Clicking next. This tells me that I've set up what I needed to put in for a grant to be entered and to be made active in the database. You can close this window out. One of the things about working in Salesforce is that this is live action, and we can go back. We can use the back button to go back and see things and work on them. That's wonderful, but one of the differences to this is, and one of the nuances is, a lot of times when you enter something new, you have to hit refresh in order for it to show up and to be able to see it. Here's the grant we just entered. Once a grant's created, you can go back and add to it. You can add objectives and measures all at the same time, or you can go back and just add a measure. We go to add objectives and measures. We're going to add in a new name, objective measure 2. You're going to be able to type in whatever you want to put in here, the full description from the grant or otherwise. Remember, the objective name or the performance measure name, those are what you're going to see in drop-down menus elsewhere. Once you've put the new objective in, then it will turn around and it will ask you to do a performance measure, whatever your numbering system is. In this case, I'm going to make this a common project measure. I'm going to common project measure 2. As you can see here, the name of this, common project measure 2, access general ed curriculum, the name is the short description. That's what you see in the drop-downs. The full description's here, and in some places it is as well, but it all depends on how large it is and how much space we have. Once you've put the new measure in, you're going to connect whatever GEPRA are related to it, whatever are appropriate for reporting. Once you've put GEPRA to the performance measures, and performance measures are connected elsewhere in the database to your effort information or your effort data, then when you aggregate the evaluations, the GEPRA are in there as basic satisfaction questions. That then in turn aggregates the GEPRA data with the performance measures for your federal reports. Selected all that, you go to next. Now you can just add new measures to that objective. You can create a new objective and add more measures to that as well, or you can save and preview the grant. So this goes through and shows me what I've put in here now. I've now got the performance measures and I've got the related GEPRA, get everything all connected in here that I can see. The way Salesforce works, it's going to give you that extra window. You're going to fill everything in and it's going to tell you to close it, whether it's another tab or it's one of those little pop-up windows. Now, I've got some stuff in here that you won't always see, but if you do make a mistake and name something wrong, you can click on that blue hyperlink, go into that objective, go through, and then just change the name on it and hit save. Now I'm going to go back from this new objective, or changing this objective. I'm going to go back to the grant page, and I no longer have to jump all the way around. I'm going to be able to just hit that back button. Now you can see I've got my objectives, I've got my performance measures. They're set up differently. In the old database, we were used to seeing objective, performance measure, and GEPRA all in one. Here, you've got an object that's got a list of all your objectives. Underneath it is your object, which is a list of all your performance measures, the type of performance measure, the description, the full description, and then just the name of the performance measure, which is the short description. These are the things that you'll see elsewhere in the database. If you click on this blue hyperlink, it will take you to that common project measure, so you can see the details of it, or if there's anything in there that you want to add and change. I had mentioned the naming functions. So if you come up to the global search, this is the global search bar up top. If you come into this and you type in, for example, PF, and I just searched that, on the left-hand side, these are all the different types of categories that this search will go into. Right now it's working on all. So anywhere it finds a PF in the database, it will pull it up here for you to then be able to access it and look at it. So PF is showing up underneath performance measures, and it comes up in one of our syndromes and disorders. Again, if you click on that blue hyperlink, it will take you to that specific performance measure or syndrome or whatever it is that was called up on it. I'm going to go back to the grant. So now here's your grant. It will tell you these objects down below right now that are empty. Anything in the database, service plan wise, service log, training, that has this grant attached to it will be listed in here. As just part of how Salesforce works, you can go in and look at how many service plans are on this grant, how many logs, how many trainings, things like that. You also have a section here to upload files so that you can upload the grant itself, select it, open it up, and then it uploads it for you. So you have a copy of the grant itself in the grant section in case you ever need to download it. You want to make sure that you turn this database into your virtual office. This is one of those things that you would do, is upload the grant itself. It's important to get your grant in first so that everything you do effort-wise and the data you collect on the effort can then be correlated to the effects. Meaning, I'm going to put in all my performance, all the activities I do with these performance measures and connect everything directly to what's related. And then when you go to run the evaluations or the implementation checklists, it's connected to those performance measures. The evaluations and the implementation checklists are going to show correlations between your effort and the recorded effects. More videos to come. If you have any questions, please reach out and contact me.